y'all, welcome back to Katie on the Flip Side. I'm really excited to be back here talking to y'all this week. Last week's video brought in a ton of comments on different things, and one thing I saw so consistently was about guilt. If you missed last week's video, you might want to go ahead and watch it before you listen to this video. Last week, basically, I talked about setting boundaries and how I feel like a lot of times when I get overwhelmed and stressed and things are chaotic, one of the primary reasons for that is because I have not done a good job of setting boundaries, guidelines, being consistent, and all of the above. Let's just get right to the thing that is driving everybody crazy apparently and is really causing a lot of stress for people: guilt. It is probably number one on my list as well. Guilt is something that I feel about everything all the time, and I feel like that's a lot of the reason why I have trouble setting boundaries and sticking to boundaries. I've seen comments with and experienced myself difficulties with feeling guilt for asking for help, whether it be from your husband, from your family members, from your friends. Guilt about saying no to social events, guilt about taking time for yourself, guilt about saying no to your friends, guilt about not being able to help other people with things. It is just everywhere. So like I have said, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, one of the reasons I'm talking about it is because I am struggling with it and I'm trying to get better. I think part of the trouble with the guilt and the setting of boundaries, realizing that we are our own person, that we need to protect the things that are important to us, is that growing up, we're taught that you do what you're told, you follow the rules, you do what adults tell you to, you do what your parents tell you to. As we grow up, it's hard to kind of separate ourselves from that and see that we can make our own decisions, we can have our own opinions, and that's okay. It's okay to have an opinion that's different from somebody else. I read a comment that really stood out to me. This was a very heartfelt comment where this girl shared her story, but she said something that somebody had said to her during a struggle that she was having, and it had totally changed her life. When you have the chance to feel guilt or to feel resentment, choose guilt every time. I was floored and asked, why would I choose to feel guilty? And he said, if you choose to feel guilt, you are doing what is right for you. If you choose to feel resentment, you are caving into everyone else's demands, expectations, etc. Then she said, think about it. We cave, we bite our tongues, we avoid conflict, which I hate and am horrible with. That would be me too. We justify why things didn't get done and so on. This makes us resent the other person or situation. If I choose to do what's right for me, what I want or need, then I'm going to feel guilty. But you know what? That's okay. And obviously, like she says, this mindset is not applicable to all situations. If you're feeling guilt because you haven't fed your dog in a week, well, that's probably something you should feel guilty about. Let's just take care of that and feed the dog. But as I let this sit and think about it, I was like, you know, that makes a lot of sense, because if I find myself feeling like I'm bending over backwards, compromising either my morals, my time, my priorities, my goals, because of feeling guilty for not doing something for somebody else, then that's something that I begin to feel resentment for, and I begin to feel bitter towards that person, and it kind of builds up. And I saw that in a lot of the comments. I saw somebody comment my mother-in-law had a key to our house and she would just come over whenever she wanted and just let herself in, and I didn't want to say anything to my mother-in-law or my husband because it was just uncomfortable and I didn't want to make them feel bad, but finally I had to draw the line. And she's felt so much better since doing that. And that would be one of those things. You initially start to feel bad because you should, be accepting of your family members and all these types of things. But the more you realize that this is crossing a boundary that you don't want to be crossed, the more you start to feel resentful. And then that starts to creep into your relationship with your husband, with your mother-in-law, with everybody else. Whereas once you set the boundary, it may not be easy and initially it may be hard, but once everybody knows that that's how it goes, then things go a lot more smoothly. I think that is a great gut check. If you find something in your life that you continue to feel like you're just feeling this in the pit of your stomach, resentment, bitterness, all of these things, it's probably something that you need to say something about, put a stop to, set a boundary for, and that is hard. I am the world's worst. I am so not good at that. But once you realize how important it is for you to do that in order to be who you're supposed to be, to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish, to stand up for yourself and protect what's important to you, it's protecting your sense of sanity, privacy, whatever it is. it's something that you have to do. There was actually a comment from somebody else, Laura Blanton. She said, we all need boundaries and I'm negligent in setting them too. I have a lot of stress setting boundaries, but find that when I don't, resentment sets in and that's no one's fault but mine. When I'm thoughtful and deliberate with my boundaries, I'm actually nicer and more pleasant to be around because I don't provide an opportunity for that resentment to build. Totally true. So the more I think about it, I really, this idea of the resentment versus guilt, if you're feeling guilty about setting a boundary, it's hard at first, but the more that boundary is established and the more it's kept and the more it's consistent and the more everybody knows about it, the less resentment you'll feel, the happier you'll be. And the guilt will go away because people will just come to understand that that's what you need and that's important for you. I talked about something on my live stream on Sunday night that I wanted to talk about today too, and that is an example of last week when I was actually working on putting up the video for last week. I was doing it during nap time. Gaines came down from her nap a little earlier and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to finish this, so you go play with something else and I'm gonna finish this. And she said, oh, you're always working when I wake up from my nap. And I was like, oh, the guilt. I don't want her to feel like I'm ever neglecting her for work, but I also want to set an example for her of setting healthy boundaries. So saying something to her like, playing with you is really important to me and you are so important to me, so I want to set aside some special time to play with you when I'm not working. My work is really important too, so I have to make sure that I make time for both you and my work. So I'm gonna work for 30 more minutes, however long you want to say. I'm going to set this timer right here, and when it goes off, that means I'm going to be done with my work. I bet you have some important work or playtime that you could do, toys that you maybe haven't played with in a while. Maybe they need some attention. Why don't you go play with blank, this Play-Doh set, these Legos, your Barbie house, whatever it may be, while I'm finishing up. And as soon as the timer goes off, I will be totally done with work and I will come play with you and we can do whatever, we can play whatever you want to play. How about that? How do you guys think that would work? Would that work for you in the situation? It is definitely something that has worked well for us when we're consistent and remember to do it. And the more you do something like that, the more you set that boundary and they understand you're gonna keep that boundary. When the timer goes off, you are gonna be done with work and you are gonna play with them. And to a kid, when I say, hey, I've got to still work, sorry, it's going to be a while. Well, in her mind, that's like forever, and then I'm never going to play with her. So when she has a concrete timeline and when I lay out to her why I'm setting the boundary, why work is important, why she's important, and how I'm going to separately devote my time to each thing, showing healthy boundaries, healthy relationships with her, healthy relationship with work, I think that is an excellent way to set an example. So as much as it's important for us to set boundaries for our own standards, for our own morals, whatever it may be, it's also important to model that for our kids so that they grow up knowing how to do it. And the reason I'm talking about this specific instance is because I have found that this is one way to significantly reduce my guilt. What I've found when I've done that is that I enjoy my time with my kids so much more because I can 100% devote my attention to them during that time that I'm playing with them, detach myself from work, detach myself from any other stress, set myself a boundary that this is Mommy Gaines time, or this is Mommy Brooks time, or this is Mommy family time, whatever the boundary is, whatever the area is that I want to protect, I'm not gonna let anything else get in the way. Of course, I know a lot of y'all are dealing with other situations than just telling your kid to go play for a little bit. You're dealing with some much more serious things, and saying no and learning that is really hard. One comment that I saw that I thought was really good was that no is a complete sentence. You should not feel like you have to over-explain your no. If people can't respect your boundaries and the fact that you just don't want to do something right now, then I don't know to tell you don't be friends with them. No, not really. Not really. And yes, sometimes you do need to explain, but I feel like a lot of times I feel worse saying no because I feel like I have to give all these excuses and all this like, well, and then we have to do this and this and this and this. Well, those people don't want to know that. As long as you understand why you're saying no, that's going to reduce the guilt. When you have thought through in your mind why your boundary is important, you're more likely to enforce it and less likely to feel guilty about it. I'm not saying to abuse people and just be like, nope, never going anywhere, never doing anything. Now, granted, whatever. If you don't ever want to go anywhere and don't ever want to do anything, first of all, you might want to see somebody about that because that could actually, I mean, that might be a problem. If it's just somebody that you're sick and tired of just walking into your house unannounced, or you're sick and tired of being the only one who ever changes a diaper in your house, the reason why is because you just need a break. You need some sanity. You need whatever. Truly be honest with people, and hopefully they'll understand and they'll be able to respect that from you. If you say, you know what, I'm just really having a hard time. I've been really stressed lately and I really just need some time to myself, or I really just need some time with my family. I really need some time with just my husband and me, being able to go to dinner by ourselves. Leave me a comment below and let me know what boundaries you have set for yourself this week and how you have enforced them, how that's felt. Have you had guilt? What have you done to overcome that? How have you coped with it? I want to hear your thoughts on all of this. I can't wait to hear from y'all. Can't wait to see y'all at the live stream Sunday night. I will post on Instagram, Twitter, all those places, and let y'all know a specific time. Just depends on when the kids go to bed. I am looking forward to changing our lives together, getting a better balance, and feeling less stressed and less overwhelmed. We can do this. Y'all are coming along with me. Please help. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.